Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Aviation RC New Podcast. My name is Joe.
And I'm Matt.
And we're back. Episode
102.
101?
Nope, 102.
You sure about that?
I don't know why you fight me on it.
I even created the folder earlier.
I know, I got the list.
And everything.
I know. That's okay. It's episode 102. We're going to call this one March Madness and Flight Fest 25.
March Madness because we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, woo! No, honestly, this whole last month, up until this point, has felt a bit madness-inducing. In a good way and a bad way, you know? Mostly
I feel you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moving parts, and not even in the hobby for me.
Yeah, me either.
But things have been moving, so it's fun.
Yeah, good.
Yay.
Okay. Well, so then let's. I mean, this one's going to be so for our listeners, for you guys. It's just Joe and I are going to kind of catch up and update. And with any luck, we'll have an opportunity to kind of get into a topic, maybe have our interviews that we talked about in a couple months or a couple weeks from now, and kind of start getting back into having interviews with your manufacturers and things like that. People who are doing events or attending events. I know Toledo's coming up. You know, we can actually go over a whole list of events. I don't even know what dates they are, but if you haven't thought about them, you probably should. And we'll go through some of those.
Also, the Piedmont Flyers, but that's really probably... That's
my local field fly-in. They're having a fly-in at the end of this month, so in 2 weeks. 2 weekends. So that's pretty exciting. Toledo, if you're into that kind of thing, at the very beginning of next month, so the weekend after, I think it's 4th and 5th or something, they are having the Toledo swap meet. And it's a ginormous thing out in Toledo, Ohio. And let's see, because I'm starting to head my brain into full-scale stuff, there's a Sun and Fun, which is the Florida fly-in for, home build and experimentals and, like personal airplane type stuff. They have an air show, a bunch of other stuff. Usually have classes, and it's kind of a meet and greet as well. A lot of things go on there. And that is almost, I think it's actually the same weekend. Joe Knoll is later that month or early the following month, either the very end of April or early May. It'd be worthwhile to look that up and give you the dates. And then, of course, in June, it's Flight Fest. So we'll talk about all those things. I'll see if I can't pull up the dates on some of those.
Yeah, I got to remember to put my vacation time in for that.
Yeah, do it right away. So that way people can't say, well, you never,
Yeah,
and I got confirmation. Jesse's like, well, if you'll have me, we'll do it again.
What do you mean,
and I'm like,
if?
Yeah, I know, right? Tell me about it. I'm like, well, yeah. Silly. So we'll figure it out.
On a plane. Let's go.
I know, exactly. It's going to be interesting. So I'm really excited for that. I know this year is, I've heard from some of the people that I am used to seeing there. They're kind of long-termers. They've been going, when Flight Fest was young. And I think some of those guys are not going to be able to make it this year, which is kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
But it'll be what it is. We'll definitely be making the best of it and enjoying the snot out of it. I know it's always a good time. So, Joe, why don't we... I think really this is just going to be us talking about the trials and tribulation of the madness of our March so far and late February. And then why don't we get into the different festivals and see if we can't get some dates?
Sure. Well, mine has just been house hunting. Rachel and I had a bid in on a place, and then I got worried about it, and we backed out. So we're starting to hunt afresh.
House hunting, baby.
Gotta love it.
It's awesome. Like it's a fun
process,
but it is a process, right? I remember when I looked for my house that I have now. I think I looked through like 100 We looked through, it felt like billions of houses. And then I narrowed it down to like maybe 100 houses. And then I narrowed that down from that 100 list of like, these look good to like, okay, these are the 20 I want to see.
Mm-hmm.
20 or 30. And then I went through the 20 or 30 and narrowed it down to like, okay, when my significant half came up to visit, because at this point I was living here, so it was easier for me to go. And she was at home with the kids back in Pennsylvania. When she came up to visit for the weekend, we went and saw, I gave my top 5. I said, let's go through these top 5. Because this is very likely to be the one we pull from. We have others that will work if these don't hit, but let's do the top 5. So I did that groundwork. So I know it is a process.
It is. So
it's kind of exciting, but it's involved.
Yeah. It's not terrible. It's just a process. Yeah. Hopefully it won't be too much longer. The old house can be on the market, and then I'll have a little more to do with my weekends than be driving back to South Carolina.
Right. What do you mean? You don't love doing that all the time?
Look, here's the thing. I love driving back down to South Carolina. It doesn't bother me. However, since Rachel was involved in that incident and her vehicle got totaled, and Rachel's been driving the Santa Fe, which was mine. Fortunately, a year ago, my dad and I worked together and got the motorcycle running, but that's my mode of transportation. And so there's some weekends I drive the motorcycle down. And there's been more than one of those weekends that has been really cold on the drive.
Yeah. The past couple weeks we've had a couple cold snaps.
Yeah, it's been really cold. In 3.5 hours at 60, 65 miles an hour when the wind cuts you to the bone is not the most enjoyable ride. But anyway, other things, I'm starting to, I may have talked about it, but I'm slowly working on a 3D design that I would love to eventually, and hopefully before Flight Fest, have finished up so that we can do something with that. And then you've had my 3D printer. You've been able to do anything with it? No.
Oh, been able to. I don't know. Maybe I'd have to swipe all of the things off of all the surfaces to get enough space to be able to do it.
Well, you can't just put it on the kitchen table?
Then I won't be able to eat. So, yeah.
You got a kitchen counter.
Believe me, this has been the problem. So it hasn't gone to work yet, although I do have a couple that I think I'm just going to, I got to put in a slicer and see what I can do with. Because I definitely.
Here's something for our 3D printed guys.
Okay.
So I 3D printed a phone holder for my motorcycle. It's just simple screw. It had like a, I don't know there's a proper name for it, but it was a big nut on the side of this threaded arm that you crank that nut and it pressed, basically squeeze holders together to hold the phone. And out of the back of that mount was a threaded shank that then went to a ball and joint socket, or ball and socket joint that had a nut to tighten it down. It was one of those type of holders. It had been doing great. And last time I took the motorcycle down to South Carolina, I was doing about 60, 65 and felt something reach up and kick the bottom of my foot. And I was like, that's odd. You know, what happened?
Yeah.
Like a piece of asphalt or something. And then a couple seconds later, my Bluetooth earbuds quit working. And I said, oh no.
Wait, that has your phone in it.
Yes. So it finally broke. And it was middle of the night. I had to make a couple passes back on the interstate, loop back, go, grab the exit, go back, loop back. Did manage to find it. Phone's in great shape. It shattered the screen protector, but the phone itself is great.
That's exactly what it's for. So it did its job.
Yeah, I didn't think that case and screen were going to protect it. Plus, it didn't stop in the
Okay.
middle of the interstate. It skidded across to the middle median.
Okay,
And
well,
the
that's
only
good.
reason I was able to find it was because when I got close and decided to park the bike and take a break, I heard my earbuds chirp.
Oh,
That they
nice.
had
Yeah.
reconnected. So
It's almost like when you have a lost plane, and you're like, oh, beep beep. Oh, I think I can hear it. It's over that way.
yeah, yeah, not
If I
unlike.
move this direction and I lose connection, I go back. That means it's not that way, and you can kind of triangulate it.
Or there was
I'm
a
glad
big
you found
tree
it.
in the way.
Or there's a bigger-
So anyway, the threaded shank with the ball on the end for the ball end socket. It was I did like a 10 or 15% infill on that. It wasn't a ton of infill. Where it sheared though, because it was a shear break, was along a layer. So could have been a heat issue of the PLA not being hot enough to bond. If it's going to break, it's going to break along a layer anyway. So maybe if I had given more infill, it would have had more strength. The infill may have helped keep that together. Maybe I should, you know what, on a mission critical piece like that, I should have just done 100% infill.
yeah, probably. Now you know, though.
Yeah. The other thought could be I could flip the part on its side and print it that way so that the layers run the length of it instead of the width of it, stacking on top of each other. You know, kind of layers go end to end. But the concern with that is the threads need to have their tolerances right. So you can't have threads that are too fat. Otherwise, they won't go through,
Yep.
what they're supposed to thread through. So, a couple thoughts on that. I think if I were to print that again, but since it's failed me once, I may just buy a phone holster. But if I do it again, I'll print it with 100% infill and just not risk it,
Yeah, okay. That
But-
sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, and other than that, this weekend I go down to my place and get the last of everything out of the house, so that we can continue.
Oh man, that
doing the
means you're
garage.
really really close.
Yeah, well, the garage is full, so I gotta get everything out of it. But yeah,
Okay.
I had to turn around.
No, but I mean that's
saw Cena
that's
doing
enough to
something
be
weird.
like. Sorry, go ahead.
No, say I was turning away to look at the cats laying behind me. I saw them doing something weird in the camera.
They don't mind.
But that's about all I've had going on outside of work.
Okay.
How about
That's
you?
I mean that's pretty full. That's pretty full. I mean,
I mean,
so you mean you haven't found a way to squeeze in a flight or anything? I'm messing
with
with
what plane?
you. The edge. You know, you brought it up, right?
No, the edge is in Sumter.
I know it is.
There's no room in this apartment. Rachel would murder me if I brought
I-
the FT Edge up here.
I know, right? Yeah, don't worry. I'm playing around because I know.
Oh, yeah.
It's just. Oh yeah, that's how it is.
I'll
Okay.
have to leave it at your place.
I know. You know what? A lot of people seem to find my space as a really good landing zone for miscellaneous things. So now that I've been filling it up, and that's the problem. I mean, you look around this shop here, and unless I'm doing a multi-bag spree of getting rid of airplanes, I got a long way before I even get this to like a usable zone.
Well, you could do like I did.
And this is, well, yeah, I could move, yeah, get rid of. No, but this is the shop, the RC shop, and it's table is still pretty full. I had the dining room table. I kept like, ooh, this project only needs one more thing, and I kept kind of pigpiling stuff out of there, and I'm like, I can't even get to the table now. I can't even build. The whole point of having a couple planes out there was so that I could finish the builds, but then I piled it on and.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't actually do anything at all, which is what happened the rest of February. I did very little. I actually got the F-117 up and running, and I pulled out the OS2U Kingfisher and was doing some repairs to that. And I did stall a little bit, but I did do a full assessment. I did get a motor put in it So now I need to get a windscreen back on it, and do a little bit. And I was going to paint it. And I don't know what it is. Spray paint has never really been my friend. Just, I don't know, never really has.
Free paint?
Spray paint, yeah.
Spray
so I was going to
paint.
paint it. Spray, yeah. What did it sound like?
I thought you said free paint.
Oh, free paint is always a win.
Bro,
That's not
paint prices right now?
Well, we won't get into that. We'll leave that for our listeners to call in and tell us all about it.
Mm-hmm.
No, but yeah, the prices of what used to be inexpensive commodities feel no longer inexpensive, is what it feels like. But yeah, so I've gotten some motion on getting that done, and by cleaning off, I did do some cleaning, picking up the dining room area. I've also been looking at. I spent the last couple weekends. I had Ethan come down. I don't know if we talked about that last time, but he came down and we kind of worked. He was working on some of his project because he needed space because he's living with his folks, so it's not as simple or what he was. And so now he came up to work on some things, and then he and I kind of tag teamed some areas of the garage, partly because it helped him do what he needed with his project, but it also helped me for what I was going to be doing shortly, which we can talk about in a second here. That's kind of the big, exciting thing. I know I don't sound big and excited right now, but it's like I go out daily to give myself that boost of like, hey, yeah.
Nice.
I know we'll talk about what that is in a second. But yeah, so we were able to kind of do some of that stuff, and by organizing some more of the spaces, and you're getting a plan for like, okay, I tend to keep like toiletries, like the big rolls of paper towels and the giant thing of toilet paper and all that stuff. I kind of keep in the garage, but I think I've decided that I'm going to kind of vacate that stuff and move it around. I got camping gear that I could easily pull out from somewhere in the house as opposed to in the garage. Like I used to have it in the garage because I just basically wander out to the back of the car and just start heave-hoeing things in and off we go camping, made it really easy. But now it's mostly my kids tending to go by themselves for scouts. And so they've got to go and collect everything anyway on their own. So I have them go, and so it doesn't matter really where it is. It's all as inconvenient as the next. So for them, yeah, so that's been like kind of what I've been working on. Bill Jory came and went. Like I said, I got the F-117 just barely done, sort of under the wire, but I didn't even fly it. And then, I really haven't been doing much in the RC world, but mostly because the weather has turned, and there's been a couple nice spots, and it's no longer, raining or sleeting or snowing or icing or whatever was going on. And I talked to, as a matter of fact, thinking about like, next weekend, nobody has any big events. I should give a call to that guy.
Oh.
And see if it would be a good weekend for me to come up and pick the airplane kit up.
Yeah.
Pick up the Q2 plane that we talked about and agreed to purchase. I was like, hey, you got a what? For what? Okay, yeah, I'm in. Just, and it's sure it's not like the video he took of all of his parts and pieces that he laid out. When I went there, that was all the stuff was there in exact condition that he showed us. It was exactly what I expected. But his place is in Pittsburgh. It's actually in Freeport, Pennsylvania, which is up a little bit north of Pittsburgh. So it was a good 8.5 hour trip on a good day.
Jeez.
And thankfully it was a pretty good day. And so I went most of the way there the night before, Friday night. On Saturday morning at about like 10:30, I arrived at his place, his shop. And so he's kind of a car guy. So he's got a couple different projects in that garage, which actually is really cool to see some of the projects he has. One car's just he fixed up that he's trying to sell for a friend. And another one is like a 1930s kind of gangster era car, with that kind of louvered front panel that kind of lifts up and over the engine.
Yeah.
And then they got the beautiful front fenders that are all curvy
Mm-hmm.
and good looking. The back end almost looks like it's like a what do they call that? The seat that you just sort of flip back and everybody sits in it.
Was that the rumble seats?
Yeah, the rumble seat. I mean, I think that's just the boot or the the trunk officially.
Mhm.
But it looks like if it flipped the other way, it'd be a good rumble seat, right? Like it has that kind of feel.
Did it have the back doors that opened on the back of the door as the hinge point?
Oh, right. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Shoot, I didn't ask him.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, exactly. They call them suicide doors.
Yeah.
I think it's because if you get into an accident, they may not ever open, right? And then
Oh, I thought it was for because you were talking about it being gangster era, that like the mafia would use those vehicles because they could just open the door and shoot forward of the car,
right, and they don't have to hold the door open.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I knew either way. I didn't even think about that. I may have a picture of it because I was like, oh, that's really cool. I could just request, hey, do you have a picture of that car? Which I know he does because he showed it to me. But yeah, so I ended up meeting this guy that I've been kind of talking with back and forth, and sure as not, he's got it's the full kit. It's pretty close. I think there's one or two items that are missing, which is a little disappointing with the one thing. Although I think in the original kit, I'm not really sure that they supplied the canards with it, the canard spars.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the ones that kind of go, and the Q2. So what it is, it's a Quickie 2, which is a 2-seater Quickie. And it's basically a very sleek design designed by Burt Rutan, who said, you don't need a giant engine to go fast. You just need to make the plane sleek and slick. You need to make it aerodynamically smooth.
Mm-hmm.
And so this plane is like, and anybody can do this because it's just this billet foam that you'd put on the underside of a float, like a dock or something like that. Take some of those chunks. That's a same kind of density. And you hot wire the shape out, right? And then you take that hot wire and, there's a bunch of steps. But basically you coat it in fiberglass to strengthen it. And you create effectively a monocoque with supports, like continuous supports, because it's filled with foam.
Mm-hmm.
And, and then if you do it well and do it the way you're supposed to, it's a smooth surface. You have a laminar flow. And he decided I guess he was inspired by Star Wars. And he really liked kind of the X-Wing look. So the canard is anhedral, and it goes down it doubles as landing gear at the end of the wingtips.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than have like most of the time those are made out of steel, right? The landing gear. And so that's relatively heavy with regards to a plane. They have a bunch of steel tubes. Or it's really expensive for a pretty good stock aluminum tube that would handle the same loads. So he said, well, what if we just built the tires kind of into the wing ends and the wingtips? Mm-hmm. And then it solves all sorts of problems, right? Saves weight, solves all sorts of problems. You have a much wider base when you're landing. Yeah, you're less likely to ground loop. So you have better control, and it's lighter weight. And, again, that anhedral is better for control. But he has the back wings, which are the main wings, have dihedral. And so those are the ailerons on the back, and they sit right behind the pilot at the head level. And then at the feet level of the pilot is where the canard is at the bottom. And they go anhedral downward. And so that creates and then it's basically cuts like this nice cradle where the center of gravity is right where you sit in between the two wings. And there's a little rudder out of the very tip of this kind of like a thin cone coming out the back of the plane, slightly curved. And there's just this little tail wheel that is itty bitty and a little rudder because you don't need much because it's sticking way out the back.
Yeah.
And it's this just wide enough 2-seater because they decided the Quickie was awesome. It's this little 1-seater, but most people are like, I love to do this, but I have a friend I'm bringing with, or my wife or whoever.
Mm-hmm.
So they said, yeah, we can make it a 2-seater, easy. Yeah. So and this kit has the fuselage top and bottom, the fuse back top and bottom. It has all of the wing cut parts of the original kit. So what they discovered was that the front canard was I'm blanking. I just read what the airfoil shape I think it's like a BSD of the canard, and it's pretty much like a Clark Y. It's similar to a Clark Y. Is the original shape, and it's a laminar flow. But the problem is if you ever get any rain or any bug cuts on it, it reduces performance enough where when you're trying to land, it either has a lot of back pressure to keep it going, or it actually loses lift sooner because of the turbulence from those imperfections.
Really?
And yeah, and consequently, people's noses would dip down as they were trying to land. Obviously, that's really dangerous. I think there was a couple, I think there might have been one or maybe two deaths. I didn't look up, it's been a while since I looked up the stat. But because of that, people looked into it and they discovered that there's a handful of solutions. One of them was put a vortex generators just behind the high point of the wing, and that keeps the airflow attached throughout the length of the airfoil cord. So that's one solution. A lot of guys who had already built theirs have done that. But because you build the wing yourself, like that's exactly what you do is you take all those foam pieces and you kind of, we'll call it epoxy glue it together and then put a bunch of fiberglass over top of it. You know how to build a wing. So to build a new one, all you need is to get a little bit more foam, and you probably have plenty of fiberglass left over from your first go. You just build a new wing. And so that's what people did. As I said, they used the LS-1, I think 47 mod is the wing airfoil. It's a little bit more cambered. It has better performance in somewhat turbulent conditions. It's a little bit more forgiving, right, during airflow. It's a little bit thinner, so it still keeps some of the sleekness that everybody wants. And you end up having a very efficient airfoil or a very efficient airplane. So the original billets that I have that are pre-cut are already cut out with the original canard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some more billets and I'm going to cut out the other shape and make it that way. Because I just feel a lot more comfortable if I'm using the updated airfoil. Mm-hmm. Not to say I won't take those original ones and build a plane from RC around it. I'll probably do that. And that's going to be its own fun project. I'm excited about that. Right. Especially as I kind of master the build technique. It'll be a lot of fun to do that. Anyway, that's a little bit different and kind of, although it's more related to RC in that respect. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways. Everybody kind of builds them their own way. It's an experimental type aircraft, which is you need a private pilot's license to do, to be able to fly. It's going to take years to build. Most people build it in the home built. I think it takes like 400 to 500 hours of, which could be very short if you're at it all the time.
Right.
But a handful of months. But realistically, most people only have weekends and some nights. And so it takes years, which is fine. That's kind of, I gotta get my license anyway, and some experience under my belt before I can do that. But I'm really excited about it. And that's the thing is this kit also comes with the spinner. It comes with the engine. It came with the engine. It came with all the parts and pieces you need to build all the scrap aluminum pieces. Not scrap, but all the little parts and pieces that you need to kind of cut out your aluminum hinges and phenolic resin and a bunch of other stuff. There's all the parts are there to make the plane. Yep. I think the only thing is the spar is missing, the carbon spar, which they actually tell you how to make it. But you need a mandrel, and I think that's the only thing I'm trying to suss out now. So during the day, every once in a while, I'll kind of walk out to my garage, and then I'll just grin from ear to ear.
Yeah.
And go, I own an airplane.
I don't blame you.
Which is really cool. Yeah, it's awesome. So yeah, I've got a little bit of organization to do. I got some, tools to kind of move around and reorganize, but I'll get the first steps are to build, basically build tables. There's like a 12-foot table you build to kind of start assembling all the things. And then a lot of people suggest you have kind of a clean table that's where you pull off your carbon fiber and you cut it. So that way it's clean. It's not, doesn't have any contaminants from the rest of the garage or sanding dust and all that kind of stuff. So those are the two tables I'll be building shortly. And then I'll be starting that journey for sure. The community is incredibly supportive. They're they're really responsive. It's pretty cool. So, yeah. I'm also, in that note, I was in route of building a scale version of it to fly around RC so that I can practice my maneuvers.
Right.
So I'll be getting back to that pretty soon.
Nice.
And I'll probably be testing some of my techniques on it too. So, yeah. I mean, is it a lot? It's been busy. There's been a lot of weird stuff that doesn't normally happen, has been happening. So my weekends that I would normally take to go do a this or that have been taken by getting a kid airplane.
I mean,
just like yours are like, I'm out shopping for houses. So that's kind of busy. Or I'm out cleaning my house, cleaning the old one. So busy, but important because once we get to a certain spot, I think we're going to be cranking back in the hobby full tilt. So nice. Do you have anything that you thought of anything else you want to work on with RC in the coming month, if you can? Or do you just want to come down and visit at the fly-in and maybe just fly a plane? I've got a bunch.
Yeah, I'll have to see what's going on that weekend. I may be able to come down.
Okay.
But, hobby-wise, I just don't have the space for it right now.
No, I know you don't. That's why I said come down and fly one of mine.
Yeah.
You can help me crash my planes.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah.
I can do that now.
I know, and it's usually spectacular. It's fantastic. Like, send it right through the oak tree or something like that. It's fantastic.
That's right.
I'm in.
I did do that to Spitfire, didn't I?
You did that. It was great. We both were like, there's no way that's going to hit that. Bam. And then all of a sudden, there goes that plane.
Were you there for that?
Yeah. Yeah. And I was amazed. He just kept flying. And it didn't seem to be affected by any of the damage that you left in there. I was like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm excited for that.
Those bang-up little plane.
I know. Tell me about it.
Well, why don't we talk briefly about the various events then, and we talk a few minutes about Flight Fest coming up, and then kind of wrap it up.
Okay, well, I'll leave Flight Fest to you. Let me, because I did pull down the dates and the locations of the events that I've got eyeballs on coming up, and this is the time of year where there's events all over the place. Look for not just fly-ins, but look for air shows too. This is a popular time of year to go out and do that too. So my local flying club, the Piedmont Air Modelers, on March 28th to 29th in Wade, North Carolina, off of Hayfield Road, are having their local fly-in for the end of March. Joe Knoll at Triple Tree Aerodrome in South Carolina between May 9th through the 16th. And I can't remember which weekend is like the weekend that most people go if they're just going for the weekend. But May 9th to the 16th, 2025. And then that's TTA period AERO / that gets you to their website. We'll have a link to that stuff as well. Toledo, Ohio has a swap meet the weekend after, April 4th and 5th, 2025 as well. Yeah, and that's Sun and Fun Aerospace. So that's Toledo, Ohio. That's and it's like the biggest RC swap meet you could ever go to. And because I've got this kit plane, and I know that a lot of people who own quickies will sometimes attend the Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo. I've got my eyeball on the Sun and Fun, but unfortunately that's 8 hours in the exact opposite direction to Toledo. Mm-hmm. If we go to Toledo, we know a bunch of guys that either will be there, will be going there, or are hosting booths there. It's also for this podcast, it's a great way to get in contact with a ton of people in the hobby and get a lot of leads on conversations to be had, right? So it is something I'm excited to go try and do this year. I don't think Sun and Fun is looking like it's going to be this year, but we'll see. But Sun and Fun is Fly SNF. That's Sun and Fun, I guess is what it's .org. And that is April 1st through the 6th. So that is literally the week through that week. The Toledo's happening on that weekend. So 2025. And that's in Florida. Where was Where in Florida is it? I cannot remember. It's near Orlando. That's what I can tell you.
I was searching Toledo, but I think it's pulling up like Toledo, Kansas.
No, yeah, Toledo, Ohio. Just look it up. I mean, it's
Oh, Toledo,
Ohio swap
Okay.
meet. Yeah, swap meet. Sun and Fun. I can't
Oh, you're
remember.
talking. Okay, I got my names
Yeah,
mixed up.
Sun and Fun. It is Lakeland Linder International Airport in Lakeland, Florida. I'll get the address here and we'll put a link to it and a phone number if you want to go. Or if you just want to let us know because you're interested in going, we'd love to hear more about it. Any one of these events. And then the last event that's on our immediate radar. Now, the thing with Joe Knoll, that's right around the corner for both of us. They have a spring one, and they also have one in the fall. They call it Knoll in the fall.
Oh,
And that is, I believe, in October. I'll have to see if I can't find the. Let's see, Triple Tree Fly-In. Knoll in the fall is October 3rd through the 10th. So I can't remember which one is the lesser of the two. One of them is crazy big, and the other one is just big.
you know who would
So
know?
we should try to plan on making it to one of those two. See if we can coordinate it with some of the other friends we have.
I was gonna say, you know who would know?
Who's that?
Ron. And
I think I
Tom.
know. Yeah, Ron and Tom. Yeah, they talk about it all the time. As a matter of fact, on their podcast, I think you were talking about it. So yeah, we'll have to reach out to them pretty quickly and see if that's something they're doing. Maybe we could visit for a day.
Yeah.
That would be worth doing. Let's see. And then last but not least is what we're going to in June.
Yeah.
Do you have the dates on that? Tell us more
I
about it.
did a moment ago. Where did it go? It's here. Flight Fest 2025, June 19th through the 22nd. Camping, I think, actually opens up on the 18th. And
Right.
then flying starts on the 19th, which people are out there flying their night birds that first night anyway.
Yeah.
But the event proper starts on the 19th. That puts us at this moment 97 days, 10 hours, and 2 minutes away. So it's not right, next month, but it's coming up
So
quick.
you're saying I've got 100 days to finish my project.
Less than 100 days.
I mentally started it 3 days ago.
Okay,
So I have 100 days.
then yeah, when you started it, you had 100 days.
Well, yeah. Well, okay, and I also have 3 days during the event, so I still have my 100 days. We're good.
Sure, but
I don't want to do that.
every year we
It's
go.
a bad idea.
Every
time
year.
it's a bad idea.
Every year we're always
Yeah.
trying to finish a project, and sometimes my project and your project combined, and
Yeah.
nah.
Let our powers combine.
Yeah, I may
So,
just be
yeah,
an
speaking-
observer this year. We'll just have to see.
No way. Get out of here. I won't even stand for it.
We'll see.
There's no way.
So
Not allowed.
if you are wanting to go, flightfest.com is your website. Pick up your tickets. Now, camping is a little different this year. As I understand, I didn't watch the video too carefully, but as I'm understanding, something's going on. I think they may be trying to sell or do something different with part of the Fury property, and so Flight Fest is
Okay.
going to be space-wise smaller. I don't know exactly how they're portioning that off. I didn't get a good idea how that's working, but camping spaces are limited, at least at this moment. You can go and buy campsites at this time. All the RV slots are gone, and at time of recording, there's 12 campsites remaining.
So don't. If you hear this, they may be gone.
Yeah, go check
time
if
you
you
hear
were
it.
thinking about wanting one. That said,
Yep.
nearby hotels continue to remain a thing, and they're talking about how they want. They're trying to decide what they want to do with overflow camping. They may open up the flight test. I don't know, that like their park to be camped at, or that's just part of their normal overflow. Also, if whatever's happening with that property doesn't happen by the time of Flight Fest, then they may be able to expand camping across that, what we're used to having. So I think Flight Fest is going to be a little different this year. No less fun, just less on-site availability is the potential.
Okay.
But Matt and I already have our camping spots. We are largely in the middle of it all. I know they did a early bird option for those who had volunteered in past years. And so by the time I went to go select campsites, the site was pretty much in the process of going down and converting over to general purchase. So we're not like right up near Show Central, but we're middle of the pack. Closer than we've been in past years, which will be nice.
Yeah, that's for sure. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, definitely. And Jesse, it sounds like, will be coming.
Yep.
And
So Zediac or Jesse, it depends on where you know him from.
Mm-hmm. I imagine we'll see Ethan
there. We may not see Ethan
Uh-oh.
there. He has got his security clearance to start his new job in California, and he's not really sure how that's going to break down because, new job. And it's less than 3 months away. Less than 6 months. You know how some jobs get really weird about their time off if you don't disclose it ahead of the time. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
he's working through that. I'll be touching base with him and seeing what his deal is. A lot of people know him as the missile guy. He was the guy who created the anti-aircraft gun, if you don't remember. He created is that a scale? It's not very scale. It's pretty close to the real size.
Oh, yeah, the anti-aircraft gun.
Yeah, the anti-aircraft gun is pretty darn close to full size that he sized for little kids to operate. And it's an operable air-powered ice shooting air gun. It also shoots ping pong balls, so,
Nice.
choose your pick.
Yeah, for those who got to see it on the field last year, it was a good show.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you're planning to go to Flight Fest this year, feel free to reach out to us, let us know. I've got a channel in the Discord for Flight Fest 2025. What I'm wanting to do in the next couple days, hopefully by the time this goes out, is set up a role selection in the server like I've done in the past, where folks can click on it and get the role for 2025, and it'll also let us shout out, call folks that identify themselves as Flight Fest 2025 will be able to at you and ping you with any sort of announcements, or just when everybody's up there, you can at Flight Fest 2025 that role, and ping up everybody in Discord that's theoretically out there. So
nice.
That's really about all I got.
That sounds pretty full to me.
Yeah. If you're going to Flight Fest 2025 this year, then feel free to jump into Discord server. Link in the doobly-doo. Thank you, Matthew Coville. And
thank you. It's the best thing to ever call it. I mean, what do you call that? It's the description. But,
yeah,
the doobly-doo is way more fun.
I enjoy that, and I always have to pay homage.
Yeah.
But yeah, if there's nothing else.
No, I think that's about it.
Well, then
why don't you kind of close us out and thank the Patreon supporters. We appreciate you because you help keep these lights on. Mm-hmm. So good. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Well, for those who wanted a shorter episode, here it is. And yeah, so guys, thank you for tuning in and listening. Hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. I know it's not our normal and definitely not as long, but just more of a getting to talk with y'all again, getting to put out a couple updates, Matt and I getting to sit down and chat for a little bit. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You can reach us at aviationrcnoob@gmail.com. You can find us on our Discord server, link in the doobly-doo. Leave a comment on a YouTube video. I at least see those when they come in. I don't know, Matt, if you always see them. Speaking of, we got
I see 'em.
We got a drawing to do on that sometime, don't we?
Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Like it slipped my mind what date it was and what that signified. So yeah, I mean we had the close of Bilgewaary, and everybody's videos were due in there. But more importantly, on our January month of videos that we put out in our conversation with Al Bowers, if you left a comment suggesting things we should do, we're going to do a drawing here probably in this next week. Or over the weekend, and we're going to pick one of those names who made those suggestions, and we're going to send you an email, confirm that you're real, and then send you a gladiator.
Courtesy
Yep,
of
from
Wingcatch RC.
Yep, thank you, Lee. We
Thank
really
you, Lee.
appreciate that. And I hope that when you get it, that you build it and enjoy the snot out of it. It's a good plane to fly.
It looks like a fun little plane.
Yeah, it's hard to break well. I mean, you got to work at it. I've watched Brian and Lee both like literally slam their plane into the ground, pick it up, and then throw it.
Nice.
Like it's a durable plane. That's the point. Yes, you can break it, but you got to work at it.
All right. I think that's it.
That's it.
All right.
Thanks so much for listening.
Guys, we'll see y'all next time.
Bye.